Hello, Chef. Very good morning.
Hello, Swati. How are you?
I'm doing good, Chef. How are you? What are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Good, thanks. It's great to join you and
I
your.
could see a real quick makeover with the new mustache.
Yes, that's the only difference. This is what I was about to say that, people will be expecting there's no mustache on it. So this is the new edition.
I know, right? Chef, let me real quick introduce you to our respected group director, ma'am, Miss Maitri Chaudhary. Ma'am?
Okay.
Hello, Chef. How are you?
I'm
We
good.
are extremely happy to have you today amongst us, and we are really looking forward to an exciting session with you today.
Thank you.
Thank
Same.
you for giving us your time today.
All good. All good. Thanks.
All right, Chef, we are going live.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's live streaming from Institute of Advanced Management, Kolkata. Today we have a very special guest speaker who's from Himachal Pradesh, India, who has excelled in adapting to food trends around the globe. His passion, persistence towards ensuring constant growth and extensive learning are the qualities that define him. Youngest chef to create a Guinness Book of World Record for creating world's highest pop-up restaurant known as Project Triagoni, dine at Everest highest pop-up restaurant sets 11,600 feet above sea level. Had opportunity to work with world's biggest for exclusive event, countless hours that paid him well. Has worked with legendary master chefs like Chef Gordon Ramsay, Chef Nobu, Chef Kotul Kochar, and many more. One of the biggest inspiration, his father, who has been researching over the Himalayan cuisine over 4 decades, always wanted to see him to do something for preserving and promoting Himalayan food to global scale, which in the year 2013 came up as a project, Himalayan Soil. In the same year, he had been awarded with the culinary champion for Etihad. In the year 2015, he was the first Indian to represent Middle East in San Pellegrino Young Chef held at Cape Town, South Africa, where he was selected the second position. Coming back to year 2016, he was selected second time to represent India in Bocuse d'Or, dedicated to legendary chef Paul Bocuse from Lyon, the master of Nouvelle Cuisine, referred as world's best prestigious award. His journey every year has been so amazing, and watching his dedication, innovation, and creative learning growth in the year 2018 had been awarded as a designation of Vice President Young Chef Association of India, and now associated with the President of World Chef Association, Chef Thomas Gugler. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Chef of the Chef, Chef Sanjay Thakur, Vice President Young Chef Association of India, Chef Consultant, who will be today discussing about how to get connected globally through gastronomy. Over to you, Chef Sanjay.
Thank you, sir, for a lovely introduction. I mean, it's great. It's great. I've been quite involved when it comes to the culinary side outside the kitchen, and I think this should be the prime focus of all the young ones. And actually, this was my main intention to connect you or the colleges. In fact, I'm connected. I'm associated with over 15 colleges and universities. Can we have the host putting mute other people, please? So it will be much more clearer. Host, if you can, whosoever is the main host, can you put please other mics on the mute so it's easier? Other than the sir's mic.
All mics are on
mute. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So,
yes.
So today's session was more about, I think personally that one of the major problems students across the globe are facing now is what's next. What do we do? It's all standstill. From there, where do we go now for the jobs, for the training, for the internships? So this was my prime focus. Now, what we are focusing today basically is about, still staying very much active in the culinary industry. And one of the best sources you have for that is internet. Currently, what is happening is a lot of online competitions are taking place, and I'm talking about the genuine ones, which are backed up by world chefs, which are backed up by major organizations. So this is a prime focus, to focus on those competitions at the moment. And right sitting in your house, you can be a global sensation. For an example, we have California Walnuts competition, which has been originated by Chef Thomas Gugler, who's a world chef president, and it has been out for a while now. And you see, it's such a great opportunity. Again, the winners get to go for a cook-off either in Dubai or in Turkey, fully paid trip. And the winner who actually wins the competition tends to go to US for about a week's time, to explore more about California walnuts. So these are the opportunities. I think students have to come forward and uh, talk to their teachers, talk to their colleges, and be part of it, which is very important. Personally, for me, all the boost which came through was through these competitions, by being connected to all these competitions. Because being in a kitchen is one thing, and then being active outside the kitchen is another thing, and which should be part of your daily routine. I mean, if most of the time goes around playing games and being away from what you are actually focusing on, I guess there's no point wearing this white jacket. It's the profession for the people who are dedicated to this profession. And your job doesn't finish after 9 hour or 10 hour of shift. In fact, your job begins after that, because we know there's so many colleges in India, so many colleges globally, producing out the masses of students. If you want to another level, what can be done? And this is that's what make a difference. Somewhere or the other, we are missing out on a lot of small detailings which are very important. Especially there are events like BBVA scholarship, which is one of its kind scholarship, where students, all they have to do again, send one dish, your profile, through an internet source, and then the winners get to do internship in 2 to 3 Michelin star restaurants. And until today, it was only Singaporeans who were getting the job, although it's open for everyone across the globe. But the dedication, coming from Singapore, from the young chefs, it's so incredible that they break all boundaries. So I want same thing for Indian young ones also to come forward. You know what? Make those efforts, come forward in those efforts, and say that, okay, we want to be part of these competitions. How to do that? If you're not getting your answers where you're supposed to, you have internet nowadays to approach us, to approach anyone you admire and ask them these things, and it will take you further. It will definitely help you to move faster in this profession. It will get you basically a boost on your CV, which is again another important factor, because people will see if you have a San Pellegrino Young Chef jacket. I'm not sure if many of you know about it. Again, San Pellegrino Young Chef is a competition which, of course, definitely, start initiated by San Pellegrino. What they do, from every continent, they choose about 10 participants, and then those 10 participants have a cook-off as a semi-finals, and then the finals takes place in Italy. And again, those finals, the judges are directly Chef Gagan Anand, to Albert Edria, to Massimo Butero. All these big names are the judges there. So you get your opportunity to be face to face with these guys in a matter of time. And if we are waiting, 10-20 years in the industry and saying tab jaake we're gonna meet our idol, it's a wrong thinking. You can actually, being in your college, be part of those.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chef. Just I have to make an announcement to this. All students, please be on mute. You're unmuting yourselves. Students, please be on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. So I think everyone is on mute now. Yeah. So this is my main factor for connecting. This is how we are growing this opportunity. In fact, IFCA, Indian Federation Chefs Association, originated by Chef Manjeet Gill and Chef Sundarajan. This is again great initiative for people to come together in sort of a bondings. We are connecting India from north to south, east to west, everyone under one umbrella. Where we have regional associations also, plus we have a young chef association also, where we do assist people, to get knowledge what is required to come into these competitions, to be part of Bocuse d'Or. One of the major drawbacks what I've considered in India with a lot of young ones, they don't actually know the original, the part of competitions they were supposed to be. Bocuse d'Or is one of the things. Bocuse d'Or, basically, it's an Olympics for chefs. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you, please go on YouTube, take 5 minutes of your time. And I would request teachers also to showcase that video to the students. And in fact, not just, one particular college, it should be throughout India, that people should feed them with the right source of inspiration. And I guess Bocuse d'Or is one of those inspiration. People actually train 4 years in advance to participate in that competition. And I'm talking about time span from 10 years to 4 years. Some countries have started preparing for next 8 years of candidates right now. So, this is how they train. This is how they practice. This is how they are dedicated with it. They do have full-time jobs. Plus they have sponsors, of course, which help them to be part of such competitions. And then other thing from the same competition is about their dedication. Uh, if people know who's Thomas Keller, he made US win gold last year. He was the president of that the whole committee. And Mr. Chef Thomas Keller is already a millionaire. He have everything. Bocuse d'Or was still such a close connection to him, even after all those years of glamour he have, all those Michelin stars he have. He took it so personally, and he put that flag on that French originated event. And this is the dream our chefs should also, put up with. And I'm not talking particular about kitchen industry. If you are a management training in any sort of department, you should also have focus to succeed to that level. It doesn't mean that people have 3 Michelin star, they're not putting those efforts to be part of such competitions. And this is what inspires us also to see when such big portfolios are coming forward and promoting their country, their cuisine in such an incredible way in Olympics. Indians also, we have to stand up and we have to take that flag forward. And it will only happen when we will take out our mindset from the TV shows to the real world, to the real kitchen, which is very important. And students should understand that be wearing a white jacket, it doesn't mean you're going to be a celebrity. You chose this white jacket to be a chef, not to be a celebrity. So we have to be very clear on that. There's two different portfolios. If you want to be a celebrity, that's outside the box. That's up to your personal skills, up to your personal approach to the industry. But then if you want to be a chef, our field is completely different to what you see on the television. It's nothing to do, it's nothing related with that. Okay, so keep that mindset clear. It's very important that what you want to achieve, right? You want to achieve to be on a television, or you want to achieve to be a successful person holding Indian flag in the Culinary Olympics, having a Michelin star restaurant, or working for one. These are the goals. There are two different goals. It's very hard to achieve both of them together. If you give me an example of saying Gordon Ramsay does both, he does both after achieving 3 stars. So, it's a long way ahead. So after achieving that sort of achievements, that's when he decided, okay, let me jump into such a kind of, business. But before that, he was completely 100% dedicated to what he was doing. And this is what I think made him successful. And personally worked with a lot of met and worked with such Michelin star chefs. I've understood one thing, that everyone originates their own philosophy. There's nothing about copying from each other. Everyone are very distinct, mindsets, and the way they interact with food, the way they interact with ingredients is a very unique thing. So other advice for students, whenever they go into the kitchen, don't start memorizing the recipes, but try to understand the philosophy of that chef, because it's the philosophy which makes his food differ to the other chefs in the industry. And I'm talking about again, real chefs I'm not talking about chefs who pick up from the books and put another dishes out. There's nothing to do with that. We are talking about now, today you have to start this new thought process where we are discussing about chefs who are being a pioneer. There are guys in Europe who are 27-year-old and running a successful Michelin star restaurants already at that age. So you can see the amount of dedication and focus they have in working. Indian cuisine have picked up very much, globally, especially with Chef Gagan Anand, bringing his restaurant, which is incredible. I mean, definitely it stayed number one in Asia, and I think it's maintaining that sort of rankings, which is good, which gives us hope that Indian cuisine have that incredible vision to be ruling the gastronomy scene of the complete planet, and which Chef Gagan have already proved it to us. So now it's just students have to come forward and understand that it's colleges are there to build up your basis, but then they're not going to hold your hand and take you to the job every single day. It's your responsibility to look for those jobs. It's your responsibility to transform your commie position to a CDP position, CDP position to a further level of ranking. So it's all up to you how you grab opportunities. And so far at the moment, there are a lot of opportunities out there in terms of competitions, which you can be part of it. And if you cannot find the right sources, I'm going to leave it with your teachers as well. Few competitions which are on the pipeline at the moment. Join them, participate in them. You don't invest anything. All you have to do is buy some ingredients, take good pictures of that, write a recipe, whatever you cooked, put a philosophy with it, and that's it. Just email it. Such a simple process. And I mean, if that process even picks up one of you to an international platform, how good is it? I mean, your college will be proud, you will be proud, your parents will be proud. I mean, that you did something outside the box, and you represented your country. And this is what we need. This is the dedication we need. If you want to wait to be on the television, then it's completely your choice. That is a wrong field for you. So these are some of the things, and I would quickly like to ask sir, any particular thing from your end, like we discussed these topics, you think the students would like to know, because you have been interacting with the students and ma'am have been interacting with the students. So what are their major concerns, they think?
Yes, Chef, we fully agree that, the more you participate in competitive level events, your skill set goes up. It can only go up. The more challenges you take up, the more practice you are involved in, your skill set always goes up. Yes, definitely. We had Orgojit, please mute yourself. We would like to take things right from the start, Chef. What was your inspiration to get you into the culinary world? And I think that's a story which all our youngsters would like to hear.
Sure. I mean, it's a very interesting story. A lot of time I see a lot of interviews of different chefs who are massive, and none of their initial focus was being in culinary industry. They were in different engineering, this, that sort of background. But for me personally, watching my dad cook, and he just retired recently. He's been cooking for 4 decades now. He has been dedicated cook, I would say, until today. He's a dedicated cook. He doesn't like to be branded as a master chef, as a celebrity chef, nothing. He's just down to earth person who makes a very average salary of 40,000-50,000 rupees until retirement, and he retired happily with that. So I think my biggest source of inspiration was watching him, that he was cooking for expressing himself. He was not cooking for, of course, money was important at some point, but he was not cooking to show off or to be on television or any sort of aim. So watching him cook, and I always used to be thinking that, this is what a white jacket is about. You just dedicate yourself completely, irrespective. I mean, whatever the outcome is, you dedicate yourself, you give your 100%, and then whatever comes in return, it's your part of the share, and you will get it eventually. So my inspiration came from him, watching him cook. I always wanted to be a chef right from the high school. I didn't have any other option, and I don't think so I will ever keep any other option other than cooking. So I started with the diploma in food production from FCI. It used to be Food Craft Institute, which has been converted into CIHM, Chandigarh Institute of Hotel Management now. So later on, I've got selected for the STEP program by Obroy's group, which I thought to skip and just move on to further studies to Melbourne. So I asked my parents, whatever little you can pay off 3-4 months fees, please do it, and rest I will manage. And when you have that dedication, you do manage things. So this is what I did. I mean, of course, my inspiration, my base was very strong with the family bonding. So that's something which pushed me forward for as an inspiration.
Chef, you have had a very, very illustrious journey, both having experience in India as well as abroad. So our next query to you is, how would you compare the culinary industry in terms of exposure, standards, internationally and in India? How would you compare this?
Wow, it's a tough question. I mean, I am pretty known for my outspoken answers, especially in India. So I would not sugarcoat anything with students. Definitely, the decorum is very well maintained in Western kitchens, in European kitchens, or in a lot of other restaurants abroad. I personally worked with a company called Crown, which was one of the biggest companies in Melbourne. Delaware, Crown, these guys are massive, and their standards, their hygiene standards to everything was different level. Definitely it's there in India. I'm not saying Oberoi's, Taj, they are doing a wonderful job. I mean, one of the best hospitalities you can find. Definitely, but that is maintained to that level. Oberoi's and Taj are doing it, but then when you go low the drain, this is where the problem begins. And not everyone get to see Oberoi's Taj. They do start with 3-star, 2 stars, 4 stars, and that's where they get demotivated. Yeah, this is not what we thought. This is not what kitchen should look like. This is not what dishes should look like. And I would suggest that to students, that all you're going there to learn. First, you have to learn. If it's bad, just listen it from here and give it out from there. But your main purpose is to learn the right factors from that scenario, which is at the moment should be your priorities. And when you pick up all the right habits from there, not the bad habits, this is how it's going to help you further to jump up to 5-star properties, 4-star properties. So for me personally, I have seen both the worlds. I've seen Indian market. I've started from a 3-star hotel, Shivalik View, in Chandigarh. I mean, good hotel, good food, but again, when it comes to facilities, I would personally feel that a lot of Indian owners of restaurant business or finances or whatever we call them, they should more focus on the kitchen factor rather than decorating their restaurants outside. Because if we see globally, people put more efforts on the kitchen side, on the facilities what are provided inside the kitchen. But in India, the market is a little bit reverse. They try to put more shusha outside the kitchen than putting it in the kitchen. At the end of the day, food and drinks is the soul of that whole environment. And if it doesn't come from the right place or right hygienically done kitchen, it doesn't make sense. So for me, it was a mixed reaction. I had some of the very good experiences here in India, like extremely beautiful experiences, and then not so good experiences also. But of course, there's a good and bad in every bit of it. I mean, even Australia, if you go to smaller restaurants, pub style restaurants, I would say they do pretty much not up to standard when it comes to hygiene as well, which definitely get monitored very nicely with Australian government. We have regular food inspections, food inspectors, and it doesn't work that way. Yaar, thoda paisa do and they will go away. It doesn't work that way. You have to prove your hygiene standards there. So this is the kind of decorum. It will be nice to have, irrespective it's a 2-star property to 5-star property. Everyone should have that standard. And especially after pandemic, we should have learned that how important hygiene is, how important certification is of everything. So these pandemics can be contained in future.
Absolutely. Chef, so all students who are at the learning stage now should follow rudimentary hygiene practices, whether they are in kitchen, outside of course, but in kitchen more specifically, because the food that you cook is eaten by so many people, and you need to be very, very cautious. And if you develop this habit, wherever you go, it will be easy for you to accommodate yourself and adapt to the setting there.
Yep.
Chef,
Ma'am,
Chef,
this is
all
ma'am. Please carry on. Yes, yes. I just want to ask you Chef one question, if he can
Yeah.
address to the students in one. Hi, Chef Sanjay. This is Chef IAM. I'm a food production faculty of IAM Kolkata. Actually, I want to tell you the student to you. As in our time, if you remember, we when we passing out the college, we are looking for the best brand, not a particular department, or if I want to whatever chance we'll get, we just want to enter in a good brand. But from last 5 years, I'm seeing the students are very, very choosy. I want to take the Indian cuisine, so I'll not work for the continental hot cuisine, like that. So as a beginner for 3 to 5 years, everyone needs to learn everything. So if you can address the student in this matter
Yes.
for the beginners.
Sure. I mean, like I mentioned in my last answer also, for beginners, for students, everything is a knowledge. As soon as you get into that four walls in the kitchen, that is your knowledge begins. It's up to them to learn from that kitchen, either the good habits or the bad habits. Brand doesn't really matter. The quicker you get to come on the range and learn and feel the food cooking wise, you're doing your job already. Your education, your journey started right from there. So don't hesitate yourself. I mean, I started from a very small restaurant. In fact, very small restaurant. In fact, when I was in Melbourne, from Langham Hotel, which is a 5-star property, I decided to move to an old age care. Again, it has nothing to do with the with a 5-star property or not. But what I learned in old age care was the emotions, what ingredients have, and what food can do to transform a person mindset. Because working with old people, working with retired people who are not living with their families, are living completely in a different sort of environment. It taught me a lot of things. It has nothing to do that I was coming from Langham or I was coming from Crown. For me, it was about understanding those ingredients and respecting them and learning that current scenario to the best possible way. So for beginners, please don't restrict yourself or think that directly I'll be standing in a 5-star wearing that fancy jacket. And this is why I started my talk with that people have to understand, either they want to be a chef or they want to be a celebrity. So I think the prime focus of students nowadays is going into a very wrong direction. They watch lots going on the television, and they suddenly think that 3-4 years after that we will start our own restaurant, we'll start our own channels, we'll be signing autographs. It doesn't work that way, and these are the expectations which are going to get crushed. You have to realize that first you have to learn experience. I mean, a lot of chefs have dedicated, in fact your teachers, everyone have dedicated over 10 years in the industry. They've invested that time, they've invested themselves in that industry, and this is why they are sitting where they're sitting right now. And this is what you have to understand: there's no shortcut in kitchen. So only shortcut in kitchen is which is not really shortcut. It can fast track your movements, which is competitions. Competitions is something where you can show your personality, your philosophy, the way you present yourself, your food. This is the only platform which you will get. But until those 10 years, all you have to do is focus on learning whatever best possible you can. And this is how you will grow. So don't ever think that some properties are smaller for you, some are not. You need pan, and you need that chopping board, and you need everything. What is required will be present in that kitchen, definitely, irrespective of the brand. Get cooking, get cooking and get learning.
Chef, currently there is a lot of talk, and I think there's a universal awareness of sustainability.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the way forward for a safer world, and for the earth, and for us to live in a sustainable world.
Yeah.
In terms of food, what do you see as the challenges in sustainable food, and what are the threats, and what are the ways we could overcome that?
Sure. my another TED talk, which will be coming shortly, most probably end of this month or next beginning of next month, is all about this. But then I'm a very strict person when it comes to sustainability. Everyone talks about sustainability, everyone talks about it, and then no changes are being made. Okay, one straw being removed, it's fine, it's a good start. But you know what, as simple as that, ma'am, that people should start thinking that why every 4 to 5 star property need to have broccoli and asparagus in their menu. Why they can't stop and start using ingredients like bichu butti, lingard is fiddlehead ferns, or something local once a week. So what that thing does is that thing gives a relief to the cycle. Now I was watching a documentary about food. There are 23 billion chickens on the planet, and the demand just going to go up and up and up every 10 years. So now people have to understand that if people have to get you chicken at that sort of a rate, what's going to happen? Of course, they have to genetically modify those things, and bring it to the people to feed the masses. So now people have to stop and take a break. That okay, we are talking about sustainability. Why not we replace some of the items? Why don't we stop chicken for 2 days a week, which cuts down a balance? So these things doesn't really happen by making an organic farm, or by it takes place from right these small, very small steps. I mean, I always prefer people to cook different sort of vegetables every single day, so they get to first of all experience different vegetables nutrition wise, and then they're not stuck on chicken every single day. Some people protein daily intake is about chicken, 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 and then next thing you say they talk about sustainability. So they don't contribute to sustainability in any which ways. You have to find the derivatives of that particular protein. Like I was discussing that cows, they produce a lot of methane, and the demand of cows have just gone up to a tremendous level. And then what is that doing? It's creating the temperatures are raising just because of that particular reason. One of the reasons I would say have impacted climate change is production, mass production of such proteins. And this have to stop some of the other way, and the efforts which have to be taken are very minute efforts. Means replacing broccoli and asparagus at least 1 or 2 days a week, which gives farmers a relief, which gives nature a relief, which you don't have to add additional injected things to grow things faster, or grow things extra large size, or whatever they try to do that scientifically, which will give a lot of benefit for future if we start taking these small minor changes at the moment. In same regards, we started Himalayan Soil, a project where we were promoting indigenous herbs, bichu butti, which was a nettle, a sting nettle, very commonly seen around Himachal area, grown on the roadside, but never been used by properties. And I was very surprised when this is there. Why don't you replace baby spinach which you're getting from Europe, and use that, which is high in nutrition, which serves the purpose, which serves a lot of other things. I mean, it contributes to sustainability. So let's do that, rather than just claiming big things. Just start with the very small things first. And in fact, colleges also, I always recommend them to try to experiment with something local products. Let's teach them something local, some local ingredients which they have never cooked with, or which they have never seen in the restaurants. So this is the way people will start adapting this habit.
Thank you, Chef. And I think I can recall even 20, 30 years back when we were growing up, we were used to the Indian kitchen, the home kitchen, wherein I think we could only think about the local produce. We didn't think of anything imported which would be coming into the kitchen and being used for the regular meals. So I think in our roots, a part of the sustainable culture was there, which
Yeah.
I think with time and influence we have got a little astray and we have dissociated with it. And it's time to go back to that root and think back and adapt to the ways to save the earth and
Very,
ourselves.
very true. Very true.
Chef, I think our students should know that you have the unique distinction of, having this world's highest pop-up restaurant, and that's a very, very unique thing which comes to the mind. And what led you to that? Where did you get that idea from?
Sure. So 2015, I was the first one to bring foraging to India when people didn't understood. When I used to do that, I would say, let me do a pop-up in India to showcase the beauty of these ingredients. People used to laugh. They were like, "Yaar, jhad patta, what are you cooking these jhad patta? Bring some murga, shurga, and all that." The way people talk. And I was thinking that same thing, people will fly to Norway, to Noma, and pay huge amount of money. But when someone local want to do that with our own ingredients, that is boring, because that is desi, we call it, right? But just if you put an international tag to it, it becomes suddenly they're ready to pay €1,000 for that. I mean, with respect, Chef Rene have done a lot of research behind it, but that is the sort of financial backing he gets. That is the sponsors he get, and this is what keeps him rolling. And this is what we need to start. We need to start backing up these things, where we can have our own Noma in India. This is the time. So that was my main aim. So beginning story was very tough, because to get people eat healthy, it's very tough in India. We are so much connected with frying, with a lot of things which doesn't make really sense nutritional wise. It used to long way back, but not anymore, because everything is coming so much into a milawat format, that it's hard to now differentiate between a good product and a bad product. uh, so for us, was main aim was to find our voice out. And then we were thinking that we have done, before that I've done quite a good pop-ups actually globally, in Hong Kong, Singapore, and we had a great response. In fact, with ITC I've done for one pop-up for the senior management, which was again a success. So it was gaining popularity, but at a very slow pace. And then I realized, let's do something, because Himalayas are Himalayas, irrespective. They're sitting in Nepal, they're sitting in India. And I was like, okay, let me do something which creates a trademark. So I've contacted Chef Sundarajan, who's our also founder member of Indian Federation Chef Association. In fact, he does a lot of things to promote Indian education system. So I spoke to Chef. I'm like, Chef, let's do something like this. I have an idea. Why don't we go and cook up the altitude? And he was ready. And I was so happy that he was ready, and he was very supportive. So the whole plan came up that let's make a sustainable restaurant there, with all sustainable resources, with ingredients which are grown in Himalayas. And that way, at least we can tell the world that, look, we are creating a restaurant with all the sustainable resources at such an altitude. When we can do it, why you restrict yourself from not trying these beautiful ingredients, from being shy away? Truffle is so fancy everywhere. Truffle. We have such beautiful mushrooms coming from Himalayas. Why don't we popularize them rather than truffle? So my part is that, let's bring these things into fashion, not just in talks, but in practicality. I mean, this was the main message. And so far globally, it was well touched upon. Forbes covered our story. A lot of people covered our story. India, sadly, media was like, okay, how much you can pay? I'm like, this is a story people have to know. We don't pay for stories which are I mean, we are not selling our product. It's a message. So unfortunately, it didn't pick up much in India. But then among students, it was well known, and we are coming up with the second season shortly, uh, uh, most probably this year or next year. And our team will be comprised of students. So I'm gonna take students with us to this event, which will be above 21,000 feet this time. So very dangerous event. Chef Thomas Googler is with us. Few students I've selected, and few are still under process. So I want to give that exposure to the young ones, so that they can get that kickstart for their career. So looking forward for that event also. And definitely your students also, if they wish to stand up on our criteria, they are feel free to approach me, and they can be part of it.
Thank you so much, Chef. What do you think in the current context? What is for a student who is entering hospitality, who is not at the moment a student of hospitality, but would be contemplating a start in this area? What would be your advice as a scope of this culinary profession, and what would be the future trends of the culinary profession which the students need to prepare for, because the students would be passing out maybe 3 years later or 5 years later they will be joining the industry. What do you think would be the futuristic trends they would prepare themselves for?
I mean, after this pandemic, we really know that future is unpredictable. But I mean, kids have to be prepared for everything, from the worst to the best. Uh, Hospitality is one of the industries which have to come back to the strongest. We've got people not going to stop eating, right? Everyone have to eat.
Some YouTube videos, or they are driving the student in a wrong direction. Actually, I felt that with my student. Chef, if you can put some light on the matter. So the basics you was talking about. We always keep
working for a Michelin star restaurant. These should be the priorities, right? Our priorities should not be taking selfies with master chefs. If this is your priority, you are already in a wrong business. That is not our job. So when we start looking up to a wrong idols, this is where the disappointment comes into place. If you are looking into right people, they're all working hard in the kitchen 24 hours, 14, 15 hours a day. They are dedicating themselves and they're keeping themselves focused because they have love for the profession. So it's very important, that college cannot teach you loving this profession. It has to come within. So if you love this profession, you have to understand that you are loving the profession, the white jacket, because you love to cook. You don't come into this profession for any other reason other than cooking. Nothing at all. If it comes on your way, well and good. Be happy about it, and then get back to kitchen. This is what I exactly say. You are there to express yourself through food, and which is very important. Every young one should understand we are not for any other reason in the kitchen. Personally, I have refused a lot of commercial projects because I don't want to be part of commercial projects. Then it affects my philosophy and my way of living. So if I wanted, I should have picked up easily a pub project in India with massive restaurant outlets, and I should have, run that chain with great amount of money. But I didn't want it to do that. I wanted to stick to my basics. I wanted to stick to what I'm doing right now, focusing on my region. Of course, it's a tough journey, but then still your base, if your inspiration is coming from somewhere very strong, I think the focus will stay on to, what you have decided, to your goal. It doesn't matter that money is coming in from other zones or anything like that. I'm not going to change my philosophy for that. And students should be same in this regard.
Pretty right, Chef. Chef, my next question to you, you said something which is very worthy, that the students should start following the chefs.
Just focusing on our profession, which is all about cooking. And I always say food is the only religion we have here. So focus on that, and it will help you connect with these chefs better.
Chef, sorry, I lost connectivity for some time and I was dropped out.
No
Thank you so much for the informative inputs. And I would like the students to come forward with any questions.
Yeah, please.
Students, if you have any questions, this is the time to ask. You can unmute yourselves and ask the question one by one.
I think it has to be host unmuting, but then they have to raise their hand if they have to. Guys, if you have any questions, you can raise your hands and ask. Platform where it's more about keeping standards of hygiene and social distancing into place, avoiding personal space, that personal space have to be maintained. So I guess that would be one of the norms which will be there definitely, which has already been in process now with a lot of places, and it wouldn't make much difference, to be honest, for our sort of industry, because hospitality was always about giving. Hospitality was always about giving space to the guest, right? So I think this thing will be now put into place in a proper format. So, I mean, we needed a nudge, and I think we got that nudge now.
Thank you, Chef.
Students, you can go ahead, unmute yourself and ask questions. Chef, meanwhile, the students, while they're preparing with their questions, may I please ask you the possibility of using cuisine to control hormones? Would it be possible someday that we'll get to hear a cuisine or concept which can be used or cater to help people control their hormones? I'll give you an example. What ITC has already started. This is a, I guess, 2.5 years old concept. What ITC had started working on. I'm talking about ITC Sonar, where they use
professionals, and we are helping them out. There's very famous scientist, Dr. Ganesh Bagler. He's working on some very similar researches. In fact, he's working on more about flavor components, which is another topic altogether. But then we are definitely slowly and intensely working on this. And it's not easy. Of course, it needs a strong financial backup. We are doing it on our own, but things will get much more cleaner. Now, giving an example of Rajma itself, we did an experiment with Rajma also recently about the viscosity of the lentil. Not to just say that lentil, how does it get viscous, but there should be a scientific process behind it, or the starch content that come up and personal to understand this topic, which is again very intense. And I was surprised, because when I was researching a little bit more into depth about when breaking down these components, we didn't had enough research available online. And I would request your team also to have a look if there have been any sort of scientific backed research done on spices, or done on curries, or done on kebabs, or done on any sort of thing. And I would say about 60-70% sure that I personally didn't find it. But then if people find it, please bring it forward, because these are the things which will help us to experiment further, and it will help us to explain our cuisine much better. Like you were giving example of pineapple, so that's the way we have to break down of, let's say, in a rajma, as basic. So yeah.
Chef, if you can share your views regarding if I'll take the fusion cuisine and the traditional cuisine. If we keep in both sides, so what will be your to the student? What will be your views? Which one they need to follow from the beginning? They need to follow the fusion because it is going on in the world, or the traditional cuisine they need to follow.
See, first of all, let me clear this concept of students that fusion already began in India by fusioning two states. Abhi Kolhapuri and Punjabi chicken almost, some people are putting it together saying ye mera apna twist hai. So this is already begun in our country long back already, which we call diversity. Ki our food changes every 10, 20, 100 kilometers in a map, which is, for me personally, it's a fusion, because it doesn't have a backup stating. There's some noise coming at the back. From Dorji, put your mic on mute. Okay, so the fusion have begun. I personally think right from there when we started. In fact, as a basic example, I'll tell you. You open 10 cookbooks for me, and you will find different recipes in all those 10 books. And now, as a student, I understand they will be confused, sir, which one is the right one, right? And this was my question to Dr. Ganesh Bagler also, that how do we find, and this is also fusion for me. If you logically say in terms, it's a fusion, right? It's everyone have their own fusion into it, irrespective from where the sources are, but they have their own fusion to it. So this is my point. Now, I personally think that people have to start. I personally, what I do is I define my food based on spices. So I define spices. So when, as an example, if I'm talking about fennel, so my dish should taste that fennel, and it should showcase the beauty of that fennel. So I don't really believe in dividing north, east, south, west. Although I have a soft spot for my Himalayan side of me. which I believe in. But then at the end of the day, fusion for me, it's kind of a confusion, and I personally don't believe in it, and I'm still looking for answers myself, that from where did it begin and what will be the reason, or what can be, is it good or is it bad for the culinary industry? Because most of the pubs and restaurants in India, they survive on it. In fact, globally, as Australians don't have their own cuisine, so they do the similar thing. They have fusions from Asia, from Malaysia, from different sort of different parts of different parts of Asia. So this is my one of the I'm speechless on this question, sorry to say, because it's a very controversial sort of question. And
Absolutely, sir. Because we faculties also get because you must have you will agree to me that Indian cuisine is not any recipe based on views for the Indian cuisine. So I'm cooking a makhni kebab in a North Indian style. You may cook in a little different style. So
yes,
that's
yes,
why the student gets confused always to which book to follow and what to do.
to follow. And this is the way labeled it as diversity. It's not diversity.
Definitely.
I think, or the other, we have been lazy to document a book like La Rose and put it out for people that north to south, you go London, you go Canada, you're gonna get makhni gravy exactly the same way. Broke down to murg lababdar, to this, to that, to that. I mean, it created a lot of confusions. And then the stories banane wale, we have a lot who make stories behind it. So and so Mughal bought this here, so and so this bought here. I mean, there should be a relevant. I mean, there should be a relevance to that story. But then I don't get it. How does it benefit our cuisine to take it forward? I don't see any kind of a push in that particular topic to bring, or I can take that story to Michelin director and tell him that story. Oh, this guy bought this. Why? Who told you? No, my grandmom's uncle who had a friend. He told me. So we don't believe on stories. We believe on facts. We believe on facts. So this is what we do. And yeah, I mean, we will definitely have someday some answers on this particular topic. But for now, I mean, we have to wait and see if our Larus can come out or not in future. So this is my point on this question.
Absolutely, Chef, and this is what we always encourage to the students.
I think that will be the thing. Numbers should increase, demand should increase, and then most of it, like Chef Gill also said, it's very uncertain what future withholds. But so far, other countries have been recovering well, and they have opened up the industry pretty much on a good format. So let's be hopeful. India will be more same, and which will bring a lot of opportunities to you guys, definitely.